早晨各位同事，咁今日
Members, good morning. We're from quorum for the establishment subcommittee. May I call the meeting to order? There are 5 items on the agenda we have to deal with. Before the meeting, the administration has submitted paper EC 2014-15 paper 11 for our information. It has got change in the directorate establishment in the past year, and also the impact of these 5 papers on the establishment. May I remind members that if you have any direct or indirect interest in relation to any item we're going to discuss today, please declare the nature of interest in accordance with Rule ROP 83A, and may I draw members' attention to ROP 84 in relation to provisions on voting when there is any item you have a direct pecuniary interest. The first item is to continue our discussion on paper EC 2014-15-14. Members are invited to recommend to Finance Committee the retention of the following supernumerary posts in the Narcotics Division of the Security Bureau for a period of 3 years from the 17th of February 2015 to the 16th of February 2018. We introduced the officials last time, so I will skip introduction today. A request of members are raised on the 23rd of January. The administration has provided a supplementary paper by the paper ESC 42/1415-102. On this item, does any member wish to speak? Will you please press the request to speak button, please. All right. Ms. Sitho, please. Ms. Sitho, 4 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. Last time, many members asked about resources for rehabilitation in the community. In paragraph 3 of the administration's supplementary paper, it mentioned rationalization of resources in the community to avoid duplication of resources. But according to the social welfare sector, there aren't sufficient resources in the community. Can the Commission explain to us how come the sector feels the resources are insufficient and yet you feel that there are overlapping? Where is the overlapping? Whether you are talking about a school-based approach or reporting by parents. Now, if you don't want to prosecute these young people, they must be willing to receive rehabilitation treatment on a voluntary basis in the community. In the past, we had different social welfare facilities providing dedicated services for different problems, but now it's more like a general clinic nowadays before streaming is done after a case is received. However, social workers feel that there is waste of resources, and as a result, they cannot provide dedicated services to drug addicts. So, can the Commission explain to us why do you see that there are duplication of resources, and how can you ensure that the social welfare sector has sufficient resources to provide sufficient treatment to identified drug addicts? Ms. Hui. Thank you. I think there are 2 parts to Ms. Sitho's question. First, why do we say that there are overlapping of resources and that they should be rationalized? And secondly, if we're going to adopt the rescue drug testing scheme, what will be the resources for follow-up services? In the past few years, we have provided a lot of extra resources to different organizations, including counseling centers for drug addicts and substance abusers, and we've also got resources for for ACAN. For young addicts, now we have two types of organizations. Perhaps they will be providing outreaching work at the same time, trying to identify possible young drug abusers. And for counseling centers, providing services to drug addicts, they are given funding support by SWD. They are required to engage in publicity and public education in schools and in the community. And this may duplicate with the efforts of other social welfare organizations. We've been discussing with various stakeholders, and we feel that these organizations can perhaps focus in specialized areas where they have strengths and there is room for adjustment, hoping that organizations can focus on specialized services, and for general work it can be left to other organizations. What about follow-up services? Yes, please go on. Regarding a drug testing scheme, as I mentioned in the last paragraph of our paper to the ESC, we believe we should continue to discuss with various sectors the implementation of rescue drug testing scheme, because if we have this scheme, we should consider how we can effectively help drug abusers identified. So we maintain an open mind as to what should be the collaboration like in the future. We haven't come to a conclusion yet. If there are any specific proposals acceptable to stakeholders, then the effectiveness will be better. Mr. Len Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Of course, we all know that the retention of the post is controversial because of the rescue drug testing scheme. Well, in paper bracket 02 on page 4, there is mention of this item. Of course, in para 9, as said by the commissioner last time, it is important that the related sectors agree to the rescue drug testing scheme. However, as far as I know, the medical as well as the social welfare sectors have very strong views about this. I believe the Commissioner understands that if these two sectors maintain their opposing position, then it is difficult for you to proceed. Given that this is an important element for your funding application, may I discuss with the PASN2 for 8, B and C. How optimistic are you that you can come up with a feasible option in order to address the medical, the legal, and social welfare sector's concerns? C says to have a system which will allow, that is, you are going to devise a follow-up system that can give abusers a chance. The Healthy School program started in 2012. However, these three professions have raised opposition to your scheme for almost a year. So I'd like to know how realistic is your assessment in para 8, B and C? How optimistic are you that you can really do what is said in para 8, B and C? Commissioner, thank you. Mr. Leung, for your question. We do understand that this is a difficult task because everyone has strong views about this. In fact, in these sectors, views are diverse. For those that have directly served drug abusers, they want us to come up with an effective proposal. And of course, other members of these sectors may have different views. After we've completed the first round of public consultation, we've continued our discussion with the related sectors. Our impression is that they are all interested and sincere in continuing this exploration. We will not underestimate the difficulties. We understand that there are checks and balances, and how can we come up with a proposal that can address these concerns and yet be able to convince stakeholders. We do understand that the whole scheme will not be feasible if we don't get the support of stakeholders. That's why I say that we have to be very cautious and we will not underestimate the difficulties. Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. Last time we spent a lot of time on this topic, and that is whether this should be a permanent post or be extended for another 3 years. According to paragraph 3 of the paper, we know that one of the duties of the PAS here is to formulate the 3-year plan on drug treatment and rehabilitation services covering 2015 to 2017. And this is already the 7th of these plans. I'd like to know whether these plans are continuous. If yes, how come you have to do it once every 3 years? I know the drug addiction scene is ever-changing and you have to adjust. But there are principles that won't be changed. So I believe the duties or the job description will be more or less the same because he used it to intensify communication with different sectors and to there should be enhanced support for families of drug addicts, enhanced job training and vocational counseling, so on and so forth. I think these they sound so familiar, and we have heard them many times. And how come you have to work out a plan every 3 years? This is really the 7th plan. Do we expect the 8th and the 9th? Shouldn't you have a long-term plan instead of doing it once every 3 years? Commissioner, thank you. Well, we have been discussing whether the duties of the 2 PASs within the Bureau should be regular and permanent. Now we have a 5-pronged approach: prevention and education, rehabilitation and treatment. These should be something regular. We should tackle the drug problem in a holistic manner. However, the scene is ever-changing. In particular, in the past 10 years, the abuse of psychotropic drugs is so serious. Not only in Hong Kong, but it's also something new internationally. We have not. We don't know yet what is the most appropriate model to deliver services. In the last term of government, the Secretary for Justice completed his report of the task force to tackle drugs. And the report stressed the importance of helping young abusers. So we have come into a new area. In the past, we mainly deal with abusers of heroin. So all these are new things.
Heard all that before. Well, I thought there would be something new in your supplementary paper, but in, the work that you've described to us are more or less the same. So you keep emphasizing that the nature of the drugs being abused are changing all the time. New responsibilities like enhancing training, communication. What's new in all that? Commissioner, simple response, please. All I can say is that when we look at these such work, which common sense would suggest that that should be how it should be done, but actually we need some time to wait for the work to operate smoothly. And over the last few years, we've identified some new problems, and we see problems deteriorating. And when we identified that, we would need to adopt a more focused approach to tackle the problem of drug abusers. Or I can say that the problem of drug addiction, although we should continue with that effort regarding rehabilitation, but how can we most effectively tackle the problem? We would need to help the different sectors, and the cross-sectorial collaboration is very important, especially in dealing with psychotropic drugs. Raymond Chan. Regarding the proposal to retain, dispose, I think the biggest problem is the rescue drug testing scheme. We heard that this scheme would take up about 30% of the responsibilities for the incumbent of this post. Given that he has to take up such duties, I wouldn't object to the proposed extension of this post. The simplest solution is that the incumbent would not need to do that. So I think just the opening of new, DTRC already would be sufficient work for you. But you say that the DTRCs will not be compulsory, but rather through continued communication with the sector, we can come up with policies to identify the hidden drug abusers. We will not have a stage 2 consultation and have a fixed timetable. It all depends on the further discussion among the different sectors of our society, and you'll also be exploring various options, especially how we can reduce the impact of drug testing on privacy and human rights. Originally, we were worried that if you adopt drug testing, we would be giving excessive power to the police. If we now, create a mechanism to further increase the powers of police, we would be worried. It's not that we're worried. The public is also worried. Having heard all these concerns about human rights, implications and invasion of privacy, how are you able to come up with a proper balance? Commissioner, I think in the course of the discussion we identified many problems. For example, regarding the powers of the police in exercising their powers, and whether or not there will be sufficient checks and balance. And also in actual situations, someone had asked whether or not there might be possibilities of abuse of power. We very much hope that in view of, we've seen that many drug addicts don't have the motivation to seek help until their physical health has deteriorated seriously. So on the question of balance, when regarding the trigger, for people to come forward to take drug testing, I think we can explore whether or not we can have a clearer policy, so that the police will not be given unrestricted powers to trigger the drug testing. So we'll continue to look into that. And the SCAN also proposed that we should attempt to find out whether under the ordinance, if we could use some drug test kits for screening at the scene, and if such tools were available, then we don't have to ask the drug addicts to go to the police station for the test, so that we can minimize the subjective element of the decision made. So we will see whether we can really come up with effective tools for that purpose. In our future discussion, we will see whether or not we can find a way to allay some of the concerns. We believe that we need to look at the problem comprehensively rather than focusing on a single point. Mr. Wuchiwai, thank you. Having read the response from the administration, I'd like to clarify one point. During our discussion last week and today, the biggest problem is actually the question rescue drug testing and also excessive police power. And we are proposing something like the healthy school campus model. The focus is on voluntary participation for drug testing. But when testing is involved, through testing you want to identify students who are abusing drugs or taking psychotropic drugs at an early stage. The PS bracket N tool, will there be further efforts to promote this scheme, or are you saying that the scheme is not really, doesn't deserve to be further promoted, and instead we should gradually migrate to relying on rescue drug testing plan? Well, the Healthy School Campus and the rescue drug testing are two different schemes. The Healthy School Campus project will focus more on preventive education. If we could enhance the students' resistance to the temptation of drugs, and through organized activities, we can encourage them to have a positive mindset and enhance the self-confidence, so that they can more effectively refuse the temptation of drugs. So we will be relying on voluntary drug testing and such activities as the major focus. We've also identified the problem of the so-called hidden drug addicts are becoming more and more serious, and by the time they are identified, the health would already have deteriorated to a very serious extent. So we are now, this is one of the many measures that we are adopting. Just because we have the rescue drug testing scheme, we will not do anything else. We just want one more way to help us identify drug addicts at an earlier stage, so that intervention can start earlier. Meanwhile, we're also doing a lot of other work. For example, we're doing a lot of promotion and education to encourage people who will have drug addiction problems, and also the families to seek assistance at an early stage. Our motive is to ensure that there could be early intervention, so that the drug addicts will not have to pay a heavy price in the future. So both the target and the work involved are different for both schemes. Going forward, we'll continue to actively promote the Healthy School Campus scheme. Preventive education among young people will be a major focus of the work that we do. Mr. Uchiwai. Could you tell us the effectiveness of the Healthy School Campus scheme? In 2011, 2012, we started to launch that Healthy School Campus scheme. Before that, in Taipo, we had a pilot scheme. At the time, we engaged an independent consultant to help us conduct an evaluation. The major response at that time was that people were worried about whether or not the mutual trust between students and the school authorities would be affected. One positive outcome of the Healthy School Campus is to indirectly encourage people who have addiction problems to proactively seek help. For those who have not yet formed the habit of drug addiction, and if they are subject to temptation, they will have greater motivation to resist the temptation. Over the last few years, I think the response to the scheme has been good. It is our plan that the project will run until 2015-2016, at which time we will conduct a comprehensive assessment. Following that, we can then have some ideas as to what should be the way forward. Are there any members who would like to speak for the first round? For the second round, we have Ms. Ito, 4 minutes. Thank you. I think tackling drug addiction is some to do the work effectively. You need to be compassionate and also have a proper system. Although, according to your paper, there are 7 DTRCs which are being licensed. You hope that they will be able to comply with the licensing requirements as soon as possible. Other than helping drug addicts, the young addicts will need to return to school. And the number of places at the schools for social development is simply not adequate. Like the Jingsan College, so far the environment in that school has not yet been improved. And there are no other service providers available, so that this is not very satisfactory. And the sector also made reference to the question of compulsory drug testing. The figures already show that people who are identified as drug addicts already have been having the habit of drug addiction from 1.9 years to 5.1. So if you're going to have compulsory drug testing and that would only result in an increase in the number of hidden drug addicts, and it's more difficult for you to identify these drug addicts. We really, agree with the welfare sector that the compulsory drug testing scheme should be cancelled. That's why I have just now, table my proposed motion regarding 31A. The purpose of the motion is to urge the government to withdraw the rescue drug testing scheme, namely the compulsory drug testing scheme, because that scheme doesn't help tackle the problem. It may even result in the police abusing its power. The Labour Party, regarding the proposal to extend this post of 3 years to help with the effort of tackling drug abuse, we do have reservation. We would like to ask government whether you would withdraw this part of your proposal. If you don't, then I would be moving this motion. Commissioner, I'm grateful to Ms. Ho for pointing out that the Labour Department in principle supports the work, the creation of this post. We believe that the work involved is very important, and that we should continue to do an effective job. Some social workers have suggested that compulsory drug testing would result in more and more addicts becoming hidden drug addicts. We have lots of discussion with many of the frontline welfare workers. We've heard people, including drug addicts and also rehabilitated drug addicts. Some people believe that if we're going to go for compulsory drug testing, they will simply remain invisible. We've also seen addicts who have suffered from serious problems, and some of the social workers who've dealt with the more serious cases have told us that given the nature of the drug addicts, they have very little motivation to come forward to seek help.
And it takes a long time for them to seek help voluntarily. So they would like to provide an extra opportunity. Now, this is not the only chance for them to do it, but it may not necessarily be bad. As we said in our paper, the discussion with stakeholders will help us to be more focused in dealing with the hidden nature of drug addiction. Our discussion with frontline stakeholders this discussion is positive as far as the approach is concerned. Now, we do not have any fixed idea as to when the second round of public consultation should start. And second, in our discussion of follow-up services for drug addicts, well, is also an important area of work. We understand that without the support of frontline service providers, there is no way we can impose this scheme on the community. So we are ready to continue our study. If we cannot come up with a specific proposal to address concerns of the community, we're not going to force through this scheme. So I urge Ms. Sitho to reconsider so that there can be further discussion of this matter. Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on this item? Please press the request to speak button. If there isn't any, then I have to deal with Ms. Sitho's motion raised under ROP 31A. Now, the motion is now projected onto the screen. Ms. Sitho, would you like to read it out? Okay. Because the printing is not very legible. In accordance with para 31A of ESC procedures, I move that given that one of the job duties of PASN2 is to launch a second round public consultation of the rescue drug testing scheme, and that compulsory drug testing can lead to more hidden drug cases and will give unnecessary excessive powers to the police, leading to possible abuse. It would also infringe into members of the public's personal rights and liberty. And therefore, we urge the administration to withdraw this proposal on implementation of rescue drug testing scheme. All right, this motion is in line with our procedure. So we will have to deal with this motion by Ms. Sitho, moved under 31A of ESC. Those who are in support of a discussion of this motion, hands up, please. Those against, please raise their hands. Any abstention? All right, hands down, please. I am of the view that the majority of members, well, unless you ask for a division. All right, it doesn't matter. All right. I'm of the view that the members voting on this item is in support of the question. So we will discuss the motion now. Each member can have 3 minutes. Will members who intend to speak on this motion under para 31A press the request to speak button? Mr. Lee Chek-yen. You can't press it? Or are we changing it? All right. 3 minutes, please. Mr. Lee Chek-yen. Thank Thank you. I heard the Commissioner ask us to allow them to continue with their study. Now, this motion is to ask the administration to withdraw its proposal for the second round public consultation of the rescue drug testing scheme. We want to ensure that if this post is retained, it will not continue to push through the rescue drug testing scheme. But as we all know, it's always like this. If we allow these posts to be extended, it will certainly implement the system. We dare not say that we don't allow you to study the possibility, but I'm worried that after your study, you're going to implement it. So we want a categorical undertaking from the administration. That is, this proposal, this rescue drug testing scheme be removed from the job description of this PAS. I've discussed with social workers. They are of the view that the drug testing scheme may increase the chance of young people being forced by the police to do a drug test. As we all know with Zhang Weihong here, we have very low trust for the police force because he is not politically neutral. And this may be another excuse for the police to force young persons to take a drug test. And this is very worrying. So we need a very clear message from the administration. While you will continue to study this within this term or within Mr. Zhang's term of office, there will be no implementation. And then after that, if you propose to implement this, we will oppose again. You must tell us very clearly. You are not going to implement this scheme. It's just an academic study. It's okay if it is just an academic study. If with this clear undertaking, it'll be easier for us to pass the paper. Without this clear undertaking, we hope that the administration can continue with its study until it has come to the conclusion that the scheme will not be implemented, and then come back for us for the post. We need this very clear message. Otherwise, it's hard for us to continue our discussion of this paper. As we all know, we can support the major part of the paper with the exception of this point. So if this point is resolved, then we can continue, we can pass the paper, and we may think of ending or adjourning the discussion of this item. All right, I will invite all members to speak first before I invite the administration to respond. Mrs. Regina Ip, Chairman. I understand that many members support this motion due to the question of trust for the police, but I think it is exaggerating to say that the police would abuse their powers. Police officers are there to carry out their daily work. How come they will, out of the blue, force a young person to take a drug test? I think this is really exaggerating. Paragraph 13 of the paper. There is an increase in history of drug abuse. Test history. It was 4.6 years in the past, but now and they already suffer some damage in their physical health. If we do not have a compulsory drug test, how can we help young people? There are many places overseas with a similar scheme, and are there any police abuse cases there? Mrs. Regina Yip, can I ask the administration to respond later? It doesn't matter. I just want to voice out my question first so that the commissioner can jot it down. All right, Mr. Leung Kok Hong, 3 minutes. Chairman. Unnecessary powers or discretion is the start of corruption or abuse. Now, if we tag on to public office powers, then that would be excessive and is inappropriate to give him too much discretion. If a police officer can just pick me on the street, Lang Kwok Hong, you have to take a drug test, I have to follow him unless I am coming back for a council sitting, then perhaps I can escape it. Yes, in Sweden, they have this system. At first, it was said to be very good, but now the scheme has backfired severely. So Sweden is the only place where they have such a system. But the country is so different from Hong Kong. After 8 p.m., you would be lucky if you can find someone on the street. I once wanted to find something to eat in Sweden in the evening, and I decided to go home. So in Hong Kong, it's different. We are so crowded. You ask them to go out to Nathan Road, and you can easily pick 10. You can just ask for their ID cards and then force them to take a drug test. So I think we should adopt a more global view. Have you been to Sweden? It's rather scary. At night, you will feel that you're in the wilderness. You can't see anyone. And if you see someone, you can guess that he is a drug addict. Alan Leung may be having a drink with Kenneth Chen, and then they can be asked to take a drug test, and they don't enjoy any privilege as a legislator. So we have to be very cautious. In Hong Kong, complaints against the police are dealt with by the police force itself. The general police orders in Hong Kong are confidential. Mr. Xi, I'm sure you know, you were once the Secretary for Security. We cannot read the GPO, General Police Orders. Then we should not give them more powers. Then if even a street committee can implement or can enforce the scheme, then what shall we do? Is it another cultural revolution? It's a waste of time because we don't even have enough manpower to help the reported or known drug addicts. And you're going to identify more, you are creating trouble for yourself. Mr. Kwok Wai-keung. Thank you, Chairman. This morning, we are discussing the proposal to retain a supernumerary post in the Narcotics Division. Some logical members ask, why shouldn't it be a permanent post instead of a supernumerary post, because there are so many things waiting to be done. Unfortunately, we have put our focus only on the rescue drug testing scheme second round public consultation as if it is the focus of the paper, when in fact PAS N2 here has a lot of things to do to rationalize our drug treatment and rehabilitation services and to see whether DTRCs can meet the statutory licensing requirements, and he has to formulate a 3-year plan covering 2015-2017, enhance drug treatment and rehabilitation services, and also to implement the Healthy School program. So you're not happy with just one element, you are going to reject the whole paper? How are we going to take forward our work to combat drugs? Yes, I agree that you should punish as well as educate the drug addicts, but you have to find them out first. And they say that because the newly reported cases have a longer drug abuse history, and that's because of the drug testing scheme. I don't think you really understand the question. It is because of the nature and the effects of drugs are very different. There is no need for people to gather together to take drugs anymore. They can just do it on their own, and they can achieve this high feeling. And after they have taken drug, there are so many physical symptoms. They may have a runny nose, and as a result, they cannot come out to say anything, to meet people. When they have lost their sense of judgment after taking psychotropic drugs, then they can't be seen at all.
I think we should focus our efforts on enhancing the establishment, have better planning, and rather than, talking about the second stage consultation regarding the rescue DT scheme, because the second stage consultation has not yet started. Mr. Albert Chan, thank you. Some people say that if we legalize marijuana, then the addiction problem would be resolved by 50% already. Sometimes we are simply suspicious without any proper reasons. And sometimes it's because of old-fashioned ideas that, minor problems are simply exaggerated. Many studies have pointed out that the problem of alcoholism actually causes more damage to the nervous system than marijuana. I don't know how many members present here have tried to take marijuana or take alcohol. If you drink too much alcohol, a person can simply become insane. If the government wants to focus on any behavior which will affect the nervous condition of the person, the government is tolerant regarding the consumption of alcohol. The mindset of the government is that it is very tolerant as far as alcohol is concerned. Perhaps the senior officials in Hong Kong like to drink alcohol, including the former commissioner for the ICAC who like to consume Mao Tai. If senior officers, are so fond of drinking alcohol, they are being very lax regarding alcohol. And I think we should rectify that sort of situation. Of course, I understand that the position of the Narcotics Commission is such that they should be given the extra duty of tackling alcohol abuse, and that can really help promote a more balanced way of life. Because the messages that we're sending out is wrong. Recently, every time we have the budget speech, there is talk about increasing the tobacco tax, but nobody talk about, raising the tax on alcohol. All studies throughout the world have shown that the impact of alcohol consumption is even more serious on the community. The negative consequences certainly is more serious than nicotine, as well as drugs. Many countries overseas, be they provincial governments or state governments, have already legalized marijuana. Marijuana may even become a new industry, whereas in Hong Kong we're still lagging behind. I'm not saying that we must immediately legalize marijuana, but at least we should have a discussion on the issue. Many organizations now are pushing it under the carpet, and hence many people have the wrong idea. As a result, a lot of public funds would be wasted and a lot of social problems are caused as a result. Dr. K.K. Kwok, personally, I would like to support the creation of this post. Whether it's the community or my peers, I have seen many drug addicts, especially those who consume ketamine, and how they suffer because of their addiction. But if the incumbent were to do a good job, I think he need to follow the right direction. If you insist on this approach or proposal which is so controversial, and you do not have the support of the community for the rescue DT scheme, it will not work. Furthermore, there's a lot of work that the government is not doing well, including the DTRC. Only 17 of them are licensed. Originally, the government intended to assist all these centers to become licensed, centers. These centers are run by NGOs. The government is so slow in helping them comply with all the requirements. The social workers, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, and neurologists, the support that they provide to drug addicts are not sufficient. Given the heavy workload at public hospitals, drug addicts simply are not getting very much care. All these years, the resources which are put into the which have been put in to help the addicts have not been sufficient. If the government insists on pushing this proposal, which is not getting a lot of support from the community and it is so controversial, then I believe the proposal is not really necessary. I've talked to many social workers at community centers, the so-called hidden drug addicts. You cannot rely on community drug testing to identify these addicts. You have to find a way to encourage them to come forward and seek assistance. You need empathy and also a lot of work at the community level. If you only ask the police to take people for drug testing, it wouldn't work. It will have a labeling effect. Previously, the drug addicts have been suffered to a lot of stereotyping and labeling, and if you add another label and say that the police have now found out that you are an addict who consumes ketamine, this may affect the whole lives. And as a result, these people will be even more inclined to stay hidden. So don't take the wrong approach. If the approach is right, I'm sure colleagues will support the proposal. Anyone else would like to speak on Mr. Raymond Chen? Thank you. I'd just like to say a few more words. Since the Commissioner doesn't have a timetable, I think this matter may not be further discussed by the security panel soon. So we all support the proposal to help the addicts become rehabilitated. Drug testing is a neutral proposal. But if you propose a compulsory scheme, then this is going to be controversial. When the Commissioner replied to my answer, she said that she will further review this scheme, especially the technical issues. The focus is not on the technical aspects. What is most important is that if you want to take the blood or urine sample or even hair of somebody to test whether or not he's an addict, it doesn't mean that the easier the test could be conducted, the less controversial the scheme will be. I think you need to study the system, and we should also look at the question of timing. Yesterday, we heard the deliberation at the security panel. Many members have expressed the distrust of the police, and they're worried about the abuse of power by the police. It was so difficult 6 months ago, and 6 months down the road, we've experienced such a lot of incidents, and that mistrust is even bigger. So the police will need to rebuild the trust of the community, in the force. The community would be wary as to whether or not the police will abuse its power. Many of our members and the members of the public are not very trustful of the police. And I can, of course, give you many examples. My question is that if this motion were carried, does it mean that you can still go to the FC for to apply for the creation of this post? Will the timetable be delayed? And if the administration accepts our motion and also explain its position clearly at the FC, I don't think we would stop the proposal to create this post. I think we're positive about the post you're proposing to create. The biggest problem now is the question of compulsory drug testing. Mr. Raymond Chen, I can tell you that if the motion were carried, it will not slow down the administration's effort to take this item to the FC. No. It will not delay the timetable either. Next, Dr. Fernando Zhao. Thank you. Ms. Sito already said that the Labour Party in principle supports the creation of this post. We believe that we need to tackle the problem of drugs, and drug addiction amongst young people is a serious problem. So the nature of the work itself is very important. However, we did raise a number of questions which the Bureau will need to address, including whether such work should be regular in nature, and therefore the post should be a permanent and not a supernumerary post. And if it were going to be a supernumerary post, what specific guidelines do you have, or what sort of targets will need to be completed after 3 years so that the post will not need to be renewed? Since the creation of this post involve drug testing at schools and in the community, and both of which are very controversial. So, drug testing at schools has been implemented for a number of years already, and its effectiveness is being challenged by many people. Drug testing at the community level is something that we would object. We think the administration has taken the wrong direction. I also belong to the welfare sector, and I understand that in tackling the problem, we believe that many people who work at the homes would support community drug testing, but those social workers who are doing field outreaching work would object. And from the standpoint of human rights protection, I think the government has actually shifted the boundary. In the past, we did not allow the police to have such powers to compel people to undergo drug testings, and we can only do that if we amend the law. Not to mention the period after the umbrella movement. Even before the umbrella movement, we felt that as far as drug addiction on the part of youth is concerned, I don't think we can resolve the problem through punitive or compulsory measures. For those who are incidental drug addicts, these people would need, a purpose in life, and they need to be given a chance. For these people, as they mature, there's a possibility that they will gradually, get rid of the habit. Some would be more seriously addicted, and the health would also have suffered. Whether or not there will be any, there will be relapse after you have compulsory drug testing, I really wonder. So I think the government's the direction the government's proposing is wrong. Mr. Wuchiwai. I think compulsory drug testing, or the rescue drug testing scheme, is controversial because the whole project depends on the police exercising its power, and that you must have a compulsory mechanism for drug testing before the test could be carried out. So we are faced with two problems. After the umbrella movement, the whole society have questions as to whether or not the police would not be abusing its powers if given such powers. It's a question of trust. And within our community, there's been a lot of controversies. More importantly, the drug testing scheme obviously targets mainly at young people. In the whole process, of course, we understand that drug addicts may also, adults may also be drug addicts, but I think young people will be more resistant to this proposed scheme. The district councils are more ready to support a proposal such as the Healthy School Campus scheme. And since the proposal is so controversial, even though the Commissioner told us that the Healthy School Campus is a different objective, which is, focusing on promotion, whereas drug testing is not a preventive measure, but a measure which can help you identify the drug addicts who are hidden.
So it will be a tool for identifying these drug addicts. Still, I'll say that the Healthy School program has been successful in the community. Now, if we can tackle the problem at source, it will make us more assured and comfortable. So the incumbent of PAS2 shouldn't he or she go along this line and do not consider the possibility of a compulsory test. It's easier for you to get the consent of stakeholders. You already have a voluntary drug testing scheme, and I believe many frontline social workers feel that this will help them to maintain trust with their service recipients. We know that for such schemes, trust is of paramount importance. If you really want to introduce the rescue drug testing scheme, you must wait until trust between the community and the police has been re-established. Thank you. Does any other member wish to speak? Mr. Paul Z. Thank you. Yes, this is indeed a difficult position. Policies always have to balance a number of factors, but Paragraph 12 is about the effectiveness of the scheme. If there is no over-exaggeration, we will see that there's been a drop in the number of young addicts for those in between 11 to 21 is dropped by 16%. But it's just like when you're ill, you have taken both Chinese and medical and Western medicine. You don't know which medicine has cured you. Anyway, you've recovered. And we understand the policies need continuity. Now, for the Healthy School program, I also have a question mark for human rights consideration. But at least we haven't heard too many complaints of abuse. And now the second phase is to develop this scheme and extend it to the community. Now, if the scheme has borne fruits and we do not have any major complaints of abuse, then we should give the administration a chance. And responding to comments by members, for instance, whether it should be a supernumerary or a permanent post, I think this is just a catch-22 issue. When the administration asks for permanent post, you ask why not a supernumerary post and vice versa. And now you say that this is not the right timing because of an all-time low confidence for the police after the umbrella movement. Then do you want the police force to disarm first? Of course, there are so many police operations. On the whole, there might be a few black sheep or some problem cases. Still, the police is the major law enforcement body in Hong Kong, and the number of abuse is on the low side. We have the finest police force compared with the counterparts all over the world. If you say you don't have any trust in the police, do you want to disarm them first? Do you want to scrap this mechanism of ID checks on the road? Because theoretically speaking, this is problematic from human rights point of view. And then Mr. Long Kong talked about Sweden. Sweden is such a quiet place, and it's easier for police officers to stalk and to track down people. In Hong Kong, this is a very populous area, and I think this scheme should be used. Does any other member wish to speak? Administration, please respond. Thank you, Chairman. I've heard the remarks of members, and I have the impression that in general, most members would like to see this post to be extended, because after all, the duties involved are important, and we are encouraged by this. And there are also queries about the rescue drug testing scheme. Perhaps I should respond to these points briefly before I talked about the direction of our study and whether it is a must that we implement the scheme. Some members asked whether we must have a mandatory drug testing scheme and whether there are similar schemes in other countries. Members may recall that we mentioned the Sweden experience. Well, psychotropic drugs is a new trend, and it's not easy for us to find specific examples. In Sweden, the scheme has allowed a very close collaboration between the police and frontline social workers when it comes to drug testing and follow-up treatment. After our discussion with them, we understand that in 2013, through cooperation, they have provided drug testing for 1,500 young people, and 78% of them were tested positive. And among this 78%, 60% of them will never have never received any social services. So the scheme was successful to a certain extent. And this stand in Sweden started a review late last year. And I think we should keep in view the outcome of their review. And they have a mechanism to provide follow-up services. And I think we should share the experience with the stakeholders. A member asked whether we have sufficient resources. In the past few years, we have provided regular resources to DTR services. That's over $1.4 billion per year. In addition to that, the B-Drug Fund is another resource for starting services where we are not sure about the effectiveness yet, but that are worth trying, and that covers pilot studies in hospitals, in social welfare sectors, and also joint programs involving both the medical and social welfare sectors. These resources have helped us to meet the needs of frontline services more flexibly. When it comes to the deployment of resources, can we help these organizations to rationalize the use of resources so that they will be better able to cope with the demand for services? Yes, we will continue to do this. I don't want to comment too much on whether drugs should be legalized in Hong Kong. I understand that in other countries, drugs are legalized because they found the drug addiction problem out of control, whereas in Hong Kong, the drug addiction rate is less than 1%. Whereas in the U.S. and in Europe, there are countries where the drug addiction rate is over 1% and even higher. So do we have to give up on what we've been quite successful? I think society has to think very carefully about this, and I'm sure views are diverse. regarding the Healthy School Program, I think when it comes to prevention of drug addiction among young people, the scheme has been very positive. We have seen positive results. We want to continue in schools. In 2015-16, in this academic year, that is 4 years after the start of the Healthy School Program, we want to conduct an independent review or assessment, and we can see, we'll see how we can further this program to make it even more effective. Turning to the rescue drug testing scheme and the study, we understand that there are views in society that are worries about police powers, in particular due to recent events. We do appreciate that there may be concerns about police powers. But we had the first round public consultation because we have done a lot of things. We have put in a lot of resources and we have followed up on this problem at various sectors. We have seen some improvements of drug addiction among young people. However, there is the problem of hidden drug abusers. To be responsible, we should see what more can we do other than what we are doing. Will there be other ways of helping them? In the past 2 years, when we had the first round public consultation on the scheme, we were also doing a lot of things so as to identify drug abusers earlier. We've got a hotline with public education and publicity to promote awareness in the community. And I think all these have been helpful in encouraging drug abusers to come forward early to seek help. However, we don't have a crystal ball. We cannot predict the trend of drug addiction in the future. And therefore, as said in our supplementary paper, we do understand that if there is great resistance among frontline workers, the scheme is going to be difficult. But our discussion with them gives us the impression that it would be good if we have this forum to discuss whether there are other ways to help drug addicts. So as in Sweden, there can be cooperation between the police and social workers. How much room for cooperation and collaboration is there in Hong Kong? We can explore this in the future. We understand that in promoting any controversial scheme, it won't be feasible without the support of the community. I hope members can agree with us that on such a serious matter, we should continue our study. But let me say for sure that we don't have any timetable. And we don't say that the scheme is a must. We have to do the study first, and when we have the information and come the day when we believe that the time is ripe to carry out such a scheme, we can be prepared. I am not saying that we must implement this scheme. And this is to address Mr. Lee Chek-yen's concern representing the Labour Party. So we hope that members can support the retention of the post so that we can continue to serve people in Hong Kong with a drug problem. Thank you. Ms. Ho, you have 1 minute to respond. Ms. Ho. The general Union of Social Workers protested outside police headquarters. There were 100 of them. So you can see how much trust is there between social workers and the police in Hong Kong. This Healthy School program has regarded all students as criminals. This has damaged the trust between parents, teachers, and students. So by balloting, students are required to take drugs. Of course, you can catch one or two of them, but this has damaged the trust of young students for you. But it is good that they can still be angry because they have self-esteem, self-respect. They don't like the Healthy School program. They're angry with society and also their older generation. Then this is a sign for you to stop. Yes, this scheme may have some effects, but there are side effects and also bad effects. We believe the cons will outweigh the pros. So we ask you to take out this bit from the job description, and you should deploy more manpower to education and publicity.
I now put Ms. Ho's motion to the vote. The content of the motion is already put on to the screen. For all those members who are in favor of the motion, please put up your hands.
請你放低手啦。反對呢個議案嘅
Those against, please put up your hands. Please put down your hands. Any abstention? None. I believe we have 13 members for and 11 against this motion. I declare that the motion is carried. If there are no further, Mr. Lee Chek-yan, Chairman, I'd like to ask a further question. In our dialogue, I want to continue the dialogue. I've already stated very clearly the position of the Labour Party. We will not object to your conducting a study. My question was that regarding this proposal, during the period during which during which the incumbent will hold on to this supernumerary post, will you undertake not to implement the rescue drug testing scheme? This is very important. You said that you need some room for you to, conduct studies with the frontline colleagues. We certainly will not object to your conducting studies. What we're worried about is that the administration would really like to proceed with this proposal, and they want to insist that they will certainly do it. You told us that you need to find out whether there is any public support. I don't think we believe that. These are only tricks the administration is using to shift our focus. So I'd like to therefore ask my question again, because this will really, determine what I will do next. That is regarding during the tenure of this supernumerary post, would the administration undertake not to implement the LDT scheme? And after the tenure or the term of this supernumerary post is completed, you may want to extend the post again, at which time we can consider the question again. But at least during the term of this supernumerary post, the problem that we referred to earlier would not happen. So we have this worry, which is a very genuine concern on our part. We've seen how the police beat up people with the batons and also took people to a dark corner and beat them up. I don't want to elaborate too much on the details, otherwise we may be accused of, saying a lot of negative things about the police force. But it is a fact that there are, a lot of reservations. I therefore would like the administration to to state its position clearly. I don't want the police to be given any room to simply, harass young people for political reasons, because that would not really, what the government is proposing to do will not really help protect the problem. It will only result in more people staying away and remain hidden. To respond to Mr. Lee's question, the work relating to the rescue drug testing scheme, we understand that this is very sensitive and we need some time to discuss this with members. And therefore, in the paper, we're only saying that after we've conducted our study, we will put forward a proposal and consult the community again. We don't believe that this is a short-term task, and we not underestimate the difficulty. We never have the intention that we will implement this scheme at any time. So we've explained very clearly to the panel or the committee that we would like to just conduct a study to see whether or not there are any feasible, options that we can take, and if so, we can take out those options and discuss with the community again. As for the way forward, I dare say that during the 3-year period, we may not be able to really, come to a firm decision. Specifically, we do not have any position as to when we're going to implement this project. Thank you. Mr. Lee Chiang, anything further? Just to follow up on one point, I don't think the answer is clear enough. She is saying that they will still consult, but after the consultation, they may implement this project. What I want her to say is simply this, that is after the consultation, that the project will not be implemented during the term of this proposed scheme. And this is what I want to hear. After the expiry of this term, whether you want to extend this post again or so on, we still have room for more discussion. Could we have that undertaking? Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Specifically, in Annex 3 of our paper, we have outlined the terms of reference of this post, and regarding the RDT scheme, we're only saying that we only talk about preparation for the second round of consultation. So we must be able to come up with a reasonable and feasible option before we would have the consultation. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. On that basis, so we will act cautiously, and I don't think we will be able to make any progress within a short period of time. And to put it even more plainly, I don't see how we can implement the scheme after 3 years. Thank you. Are there any other members who have further questions regarding this item? Ms. Sitho, Chairman. If the Commissioner has put it so plainly, can she categorically make a commitment? Yeah. I talk about the healthy school campus scheme and the drug testing scheme under that project. I think the government should not commit resources on the follow-up study. But the students are treated like criminals, and they're subject to all kinds of insults. And as a result, they may even become more rebellious. So I think we need to conduct some qualitative research. But I don't see you putting any resources to do that. The Commissioner has put it plainly that this may not be done yet. But could you give us a firm undertaking that you would commit your limited resources on public education and also promoting the follow-up work in future, rather than doing something that which many people would query, and also that the social workers would think that the compulsory drug testing scheme simply would not be effective? Thank you. Ms. Ho, let me respond to Ms. Ho's questions. The Healthy School Project, the pilot scheme in Tai Po, We conducted a study on that pilot, and we've confirmed that the trust between teachers, parents, and students has not been adversely affected. The positive outcome was to encourage students who have problems with drugs to really volunteer to ask for help. It was a voluntary scheme. We did not force any particular student to participate. In the course of implementing the scheme in the last few years, the response has been very positive amongst the schools, and there are now 71 schools taking part in this scheme. We've already undertaken that for the academic year 2015-2016, when the Healthy Scheme, school scheme has been implemented for full academic years, there will be a large-scale review. Ms. Ho asked whether or not there will be any adverse effect on the trust among the school and the parents and the students. We certainly look into that as well. Secondly, Ms. Ho had reiterated again and again on the importance of public education. This is in fact an important aspect of our strategy in tackling drug abuse. Preventive education certainly is given more weight than prevention and other measures. So therefore, we've adopted a multi-pronged approach all along. Another PAS major duty is on preventive education. We'll be launching different projects. We hope that we'll get the support of different groups in our community for the work that we're doing in different areas, including the enhancement of our hotline service, working collaboration with NGOs, encouraging people to volunteer for help. Preventive education, encouraging addicts to ask for help. We certainly will continue with those efforts. The rescue drug testing scheme will only give us extra room so that we can be prepared just in case we need to do it. We need the right social climate to do it. If the reaction is very negative, then I don't think we can implement that scheme. So, having answered members' questions, what I want to say is that the RDT scheme has a timetable for implementation. But we think that the study deserves to be done. Thank you. Mr. Lee Chia, can we allow 5 minutes so that we can have a discussion among ourselves? Because Commissioner said that even during the term of this tenure of this post, it cannot be done. To some extent, it's an undertaking, but we're not absolutely sure. We want to find out whether or not the government will really promise not to do it. Commissioner, well, I think the prerequisite is that we need we must have the right social climate before we would do it. As of now, I don't see that during the next 3 years how we can build up that social climate. But we believe that the study at least can prepare ourselves so that in case we need to implement this scheme, we would have something to put forward for members to discuss. We certainly have no plans. Even the proposed terms of reference does not include this aspect of the work. Okay, I now declare that we adjourn for 5 minutes.